Hey everybody, Texas Danny. I'm coming to you on Wednesday, November the 24th, 2021 here in North Texas, one of America's largest cities, America's largest urban areas, metropolitan area, whatever. And it's some interesting developments today going along as well with last night when I came to certain conclusions. Now that's got to be revisited because the situation is extraordinary and it's the same with all of us from day one on this entire event. Um, those of us who are quantum affected, also known as Mandela affected, on the face of the earth, and we're all over. We're spread all over, everywhere. We're everywhere on Earth, in Earth, on Earth, wherever, right? But Mandela Quantum Effects did a pretty good one. He's up in the Central Plains states, and he was doing one on numerical values, or what he is always he uses mathematics as a search signal, right, or a search tool. And me, I'm more of an intuitive, but I also use any kind of reference material I can find visually. I'm very visually oriented. A lot of men are visually orientated, so human beings, period. Now, on the effects that we've had, I've had the opportunity, luckily, to talk to several people in America uh, uh, over the phone personally, right, about their experiences with the quantum effect, the Mandela effect, right, and it's very insightful, very skilled, intuitive people who are trying to grasp the things that have happened to themselves personally or culturally to all of us in the last few years. Um, MQE takes a math approach to it, and I take a variety of things. We've also been able to talk to people, have been able to chat and comment internationally as well. There's Lucky Bulger in Ireland. There's MA in the UK, and Scott, and a lot of other people worldwide, right, who are into this and checking this and also living their life. And everyone, of course, is entitled to go with what they feel that they need to do or should do, what's right. Okay, and that's something that's taken to heart here. This is not something we should be rash about, any of us, too quick about. But when I was talking to somebody, and we were earlier, and I'm a big fan of the 1998 movie The Big Lebowski. I had a chance in the late 1990s to actually see the movie in the big screen on the Dollar Theater, and I blew it. I thought I've got the time. Here I am. It's a Dollar Theater. The Big Lebowski. It's the late '90s, and it had already run through the Prime theaters, and it went to the Dollar theaters. And I thought, well, I'm going to see it. And I just now, okay. Well, since then, I've seen it like 100 times, right? Like a lot of people who are fond of certain movies. If you're fond of them, very fond of them, you're going to watch them again and again. It's like watching art or listening to music. It brings comfort. And that kind of thing. And Mandela Quantum Effects had mentioned to me when we were talking about the movie, right? The movie came up. I don't know if he brought it up first or I did. And he was talking about a line in the movie. And now my experience, my reality, my remembrance, right, is there's a line in The Big Lebowski where he says, where somebody miterates, that's said by the Big Lebowski, who they're talking about the heavyset guy who's in the wheelchair. I forget the actor's name. Sorry about that. But Jeff Bridges, of course, plays the dude. Jeffrey Lebowski, right? And they're both Jeffrey Lebowskis. The plot of the movie is essentially the dude, Jeff Lebowski, right, is mistaken for a millionaire whose wife, Bunny, owes money to a well-known, influential, powerful pornographer, right? And they send a couple of goons out to collect the money, and these guys are so moronic. They've got the wrong address completely, and they don't even grasp it. The guy lives in a simple apartment. He's supposed to be a millionaire, and he's living in a simple apartment. that somebody modest means lives in, right? They, but the plot of the movie kind of follows that line, right? But as these guys rough up the dude in his own residence, trying to get the money, then they realize they made a mistake, that this is not the guy they're looking for. The guy they're looking for is supposed to be a millionaire. He's supposed to be very wealthy. What's he living in an ordinary, simple apartment in Southern California for? Okay, well, the situation is that they go ahead and before they leave, one of the guys pees on his rug. They peed on his rug, and there's quite a conversation about the tone of the movie and the situation where he goes, and he does, one of the goons does that to his rug, and Jeffrey Lebowski gets the idea, well, hey, the other guy's really responsible for this. It's his money. His wife Bunny owes money all over town, and they peed on my rug when they should have been over peeing in his rich millionaire's rug. So we went to see this guy about being, get some recompense for his rug being mistreated upon, right? Well, it's a comedy, and it's an extremely well done comedy. It's a funny movie, a thoughtful, intuitive movie. It is just one of those movies that, to me personally, The Big Lebowski from 1998, you can watch again and again and again. But again, me and Mandela Quantum Effects, his channel is MQE, Mandela Quantum Effects. Again, he likes to have a certain mathematical search pattern that he uses. Not everybody agrees with all of our methods, and that's understandable. Everybody has a different take on what's taking place right now, and they're going from that. But, he mentioned that there was a certain line in the movie that had changed for him. And for me, it was the same here. But again, I am somebody who's seen changes in movies before as well. Like when he told me that you think the for me is, you think the carpet peers did this, right? It's not what they said, but for him it was the rug guys did that, right? The rug, right? Carpet versus rug. All right, now giving you an example, for me in 1984 in Texas, when I went and saw the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, the Terminator, 1984, right? I had already seen Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course, several times before. I'd seen Conan the Barbarian. I'd seen Hercules Goes Bananas, and maybe some other, The Villain, that's with Kirk Douglas from 1979. So we got, like, from the very early 70s, the very start of the 70s, we got Hercules Goes Bananas, Arnold Schwarzenegger, which I saw years later after it was released on video. And of course, I saw Conan the Barbarian. My version of Arnold Schwarzenegger in my timeline was Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course, looked very, very similar to what he looks now, but he had black, full body, straight raven hair. He had raven hair, black raven hair, okay? And it was straight black, and it was full bodied, okay? Now, I saw that movie, and I noted when he walks in the buff as one of the opening scenes, that you see Los Angeles in the background there, and he's walking out to look out where he's at, and comparatively to this version of Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's built like that, but also has auburn brown hair here, and my version would have had a thinner waist because the skeleton would have been different, the pelvis and everything else like that. So he was like huge, bulked up shoulders and everything else like that, and it came down to a tapered, skinny waist in comparison to the one that's now. Plus, this version of Arnold Schwarzenegger looks like he did the movie a couple of years older for some reason. Just a couple of years. That's how it's like. Well, he made the movie 2 years later than he did in my timeline. Whatever. But it showed up. But the point is we all distinctly remember certain movies and how we watched them and what they were demonstrated exactly as, with good memory. For example, if you like something, you like something. If you like a tune, and music is very much a huge part of the Mandela effect. a lot of tones, and that's partly so like that. Things have been drawn to attention to get our attention, I believe, directly. A signal. Hey, pay attention. Note this. Watch this. Listen to this. And that's the things that have happened. Is what as we've had these changes, and that's where you get the connection, because no matter from what this source is, ultimately it's going to end up in God's hands, right? Okay, we get pretty well feel that's going to be the situation. But you also look at this from every possible angle. You don't dismiss any aspect of this. You check every single aspect of the investigation. You check every angle. You check every source. You cover your bases thoroughly. If you have any interest in this at all, and I don't see who can be affected and not, except who wants to withdraw back into a life that's gone. Now, if you do that, that's your choice. I understand that. If you don't want any part of this anymore, I understand that. You just you want to live your life, and you don't want to live it on the terms that you found yourself in. Okay, well, it's up to everybody what they want to do. But I want to know more. I want to learn more. I want to find out as much as I can possibly understand what has occurred for me since 2016. And a lot of people have noted that it's earlier. Some people have talked about 2015. Rain on the Plains up in Colorado, she's talked about it happened to her, she thinks, in the early 1980s. And I agree with something very interesting with what Rain on the Plains said about her changes that came for her, she believed, in 1982, right? 82. And she thought the location of Dallas, Texas, was more central in the state, right? And that's not my memory. Dallas was distinctly below Oklahoma, like 3 counties down and about 75 miles south, okay, of the border, right? Well, since then, things have changed worldwide, okay, and all the shape and size of the earth and the locations of places, and there are so many changes that it's not possibly to be able to account for all of them. Now, what Rain on the Plains said when she mentioned that she thought Dallas was located more like, say, generally roughly where Austin or San Antonio were, somewhere in the center of the state, and it's not. But it could have been for her. That's what it could have been for her. It could have been so. Because if she came from a different orientation in time, as things changed, the progress of the changes could have placed Dallas in a different location. Just like my memory is Arnold Schwarzenegger had a full-bodied, fine, straight, jet black raven hair, right? It was full-bodied, and it was roughly combed, not exactly, but it was roughly combed similar to what this version is. Matter of fact, I just happened to catch a clip of Johnny Carson from that period where he was doing a promo, and he came out to see Johnny Carson. Well, sure enough, his hair is more in line with how this reality is, right? How this reality changed. He has the auburn, more brown hair, okay, and stuff like that. And because if you look at me, if you look at anybody else, even though I see essentially the meat suit, my skin, I've got the same kind of coarse. I've got a little bit of growth today, but I've got what some people would call a Dutch beard. 5 o'clock shadow, that kind of thing. I've always had that, but the skin tone, everything else like that. But I can clearly see the differences and that kind of thing. It goes from the nose to the skull. What's amazing is the teeth. I don't want to show. I got a little tartar. I'm sorry about this. I'm conscious. The teeth are remarkably similar, right? But there are my ears, because we didn't have indentations, bone behind the eyes, and we didn't have indentations in the side of the head. So what we do is we correlate and we correspond, and we find out where we link the differences. And we establish that there are. If you're sending out a signal, if you're doing a little ping, 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 if you're searching and you're trying to discover, when you send out an observation, when you send your probe out, you're looking for a return that's going to be as clean and as honest as it can be, right? As understandable. You want to make sure you've eliminated any kind of errors, that you're not getting an echo, for example. So when we get these cross information that we get from movies like The Big Lebowski, like The Terminator, like several other movies. Recently, I saw as well, I agree, the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz, 1939's The Wizard of Oz changed. I remember him more of like a brown cloth up there and more like a sack. He's got black, the colors have changed and stuff like that, right? But I also think that in mind, that the whole construct of mind can itself try to establish communication patterns, because that's how we observe and how we know are aware of our existence and our reality is patterns. We go by patterns, primarily, not exclusively, but like we have oral, we have our my smell. I can't smell that great lately, but and our sight, our senses, our mind, and we try to decipher what it is that what's the impression that's coming back to us. What's the information? Is it true? Is it coming out right? And I think it is. So when we discover that these differences exist, they can also be tied into communication. What are those differences? What is the line being spoken? What is being said? Listen to all that stuff, because I think it's very, very important. This has been a bit of a long one, and I'm sorry to be so chatty. I will let me go real briefly to the Earth. As I look at it daily, and for example, I was thinking of MPUE, Mandela Quantum Effects, because he's up in the upper Central Plains. And for example, I started looking at the state of Nebraska in this last 2 weeks, and Nebraska's really had some changes coming into it. So has Kansas. Matter of fact, all the entire plain states, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, all the plain states have had changes to them. And it's going on all the way out to the Gulf of Mexico. We, of course, have the considerable situation that's still ongoing with Mexico, with the Baja California, with the Gulf of California, with Southern California, the entire Southern California, everything below Phoenix and Tucson, the northern Mexico, Sonora. We have the situations that go up into Utah, all the way up to the Yellowstone Super Caldera, and Montana. Wyoming girl, she used to be Wyoming girl. Long Reach 1 is up in Montana. Don't worry about that, because we have those little subtle changes that come into the western United States, which I think are primarily from the Denali wave. I call it the Denali wave. It used to be Mount McKinley. It was designated something different. President Obama changed it to Denali for some reason, for whatever reason. And that moisture, I think, comes out of that area, and a lot from Alaska. And H2O, water, that element is used a lot in quantum transformations and the changes, or it's a primary element, not exclusive. A lot of things come into this, but that is what's being shown. That's what's changing right now. Okay, you've got water going down into the Yukon, you've got it going into British Columbia, and Alberta is changing the history, the retrocausality of history, British Columbia, of Alberta. It goes all the way out to Winnipeg. And you've got Manitoba, right, which is wet as you can get. Canada was always super water rich. America was water rich, right? But you can get too much of a good thing, and we've got that situation going on too with Greenland. We have the moisture coming off Greenland in quantum speeds, not Newtonian. This is based on fossil fuels, in my opinion, based on what I'm observing. I'm designating this a quantum phenomenon. I am not an expert or an authoritarian, but I am the ultimate expert and authoritarian on this, along with a lot of other people who are generally quantum affected on the face of the earth, right? We see things differently. We literally see things differently. I haven't seen correctly, or like I used to before June of 2016, the fatal night that, fatal, it might have been, the fateful night before, when I watched Photo Helix doing his explanation. He's passed on to God. God bless him, or he's quantum jumped, and he's maybe quite fine somewhere in the quantum spectrum, but he's no longer in this timeline, right? So but I watched Photo Helix, and then I noted something in person that I didn't think I was going to be able to check on. And at the last minute, I realized, oh, I can check on something. There's something I can check on. Boom. What did it do? I observed reality change. And it's just like out in Southern California. We got a lot of people out. You've got Life Matrix down there. You've got Dreams and other stuff, or Dreams in the Cosmic Trip now. In Southern, Eva's down there, and he's in San Diego. She's in Southern California. Life Matrix is, I think they're more or less all in San Diego, but there's a lot of people in LA too. I grew up in LA. This isn't my LA. My LA San Gabriel Basin had a more round, rotund San Gabriel Basin. And of course, the earth was bigger. California's valley was bigger. By the way, Robert Wood had a chance to go into the valley. Him and his brother grew up in the central part of the valley. Even for me, I can see Fresno's in a different place. Even though it's generally roughly in the same ballpark area, it's not exact. It's a little further south than it was. But as I look at everything and I watch it and I observe everything, I'm just seeing a mosaic of changes to the Central Valley of Southern California. Of California, period. California is just an extremely active state, but the entire west of North America is the entire thing. You've got, I noted Vancouver Island, British Columbia, just had serious issues with water. Vancouver Island, British Columbia is a huge changer, along with Florida. Florida does constant small tweak changes. Ding, 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 ding. I mean, I get dizzy if I look at Florida. It's something else. And we've had a lot of interesting developments. Now, Orlando is interesting. Orlando, Florida is very, very interesting. I sense it. Okay, so I'm going to let it be what it is, and we'll let that go on. But Florida's got a lot of changes. We've got changes going, of course, up into Manhattan. Has been going on at it for a long time. New York, period. It's America's largest city, so New York is going to be doing who knows what. I wouldn't doubt like there's 150 major buildings gone from New York from my timeline. You know, just major jobs, big jobs, factories, whatever. You know, you name it. Shopping plazas, entire neighborhoods. Lone Eagle talked about that a few years ago, that he saw an entire change in Canada. He saw a change of happen to reality in a Canadian neighborhood. So we're having those things take place. We have those changes taking place right now. Those of us can handle it, and I respect anybody who says, you know, I've had enough. I'm out. I'm done. I want to go back to my life. I want to live life. I'm going to luxuriate and experience. That's great. That's fine. You got to find your own happiness. But I also am with everybody who wants to search for this every step of the way within reason.
Tell your mom I said hi.
Okay. Hey, goodbye for right now. The Pizza Parlor. Texas Danny out.